A couple of passive-aggressive backhanded compliments there to Brentford, a Brentford side now, who are just 2 points off Liverpool in sitting sixth, Brentford in seventh. For a lot more on this end, welcome in, shall we? Jan Arger Fjortov, Ian Dark. Once again, we say Happy New Year to Steve Nicol. Stevie, before we get into the actual incidents throughout the match, let's just focus on the game overall. What did you make of it?
I don't think it really turned out any different than what we thought it probably would. You know,
you predicted a Liverpool win yesterday.
Well, if you give me 2 seconds, I'll get to my reasons. Yeah, when I say it's kind of what we thought, I'm talking about the physicality of Brentford. You know, you heard Klopp there talking about, you know, the situations, the free kicks for and against, where they're really physical and they manhandle you. So that's not a shock. Oh, guess what? Brentford go and close the ball down. They harry you. They hustle you. They make it hard for you. They're physical with you. Oh, is that a shock? I mean, nothing that Brentford did in this game is a shock or should be a shock to anybody. The surprise is the scoreline. And the scoreline's a surprise because if you think of the amount of ball Liverpool had, if you're Klopp, you should be worried about what little chances you did create. Listen, I don't think you can argue that Brentford probably shaded it in the first half, but Liverpool still had the 2 best chances. One magnificent clearance from Ben Mee, and the other one, Tsimikas, should have scored. Listen, he's got the whole goal to aim at. The goalie makes a good save, but I mean, they're the best chances in the game. But for all the possession, for all the ball, for all the pressure in the second half, other than Oxlade-Chamberlain's header, Liverpool, I didn't get the impression they were going to score. So the game itself went the way I thought it would. I just didn't think the final result would be the one that I thought it would. And as far as the third goal, I'm glad it wasn't the deciding factor in the victory, because you can argue for and against it. The fact is that Liverpool, with all the ball they had, have to create more chances and score more goals.
Yeah, I think Stevie's been a bit generous in that first half performance from Liverpool. I thought they were turgid.
Yeah, and I was at Anfield looking against Leicester, and they were terrible at that game as well. Lucky that they had a guy who decided to score 2 own goals. And I think they had a ball, but they didn't know what to do with the ball. And Stevie is right with the set pieces. Yes, the compliment goes to Frank, the Brentford manager. I think Brentford do exactly what they need to do when they play against Liverpool. And there's maybe a lot of talk about Nunez not scoring goals, but that's not the problem at all. The problem in Liverpool Football Club at the moment, they look tired, they look old, they look slow. And that is not a good sign for them, because the club teams, we know they need the intensity. You need midfielders are running and aggression and everything. And it's not there at the moment. And when you look at the team, you will think that when coming into this transfer window, midfielders, yes, desperate to get midfielders in there and so on. But I think for a long time now, we talked a lot about everything else. The problem with Liverpool, they're conceding 2 easy goals. And Van Dijk was taken off because of, you said the word which is hard for Norwegians, precautions, to not to get injured, of course. But Van Dijk, he looks a bit insecure as well in that role, and that makes it contagious for the other defenders back there. A lot to be said about Arnold, but I think that at the moment Van Dijk doesn't look like the leader either.
Where's the spark?
Yeah, a couple of things about this game. Yes, the spark wasn't there from Liverpool, and when we have fallen in love with Liverpool in the past has been because of that spark, because of that intensity. That's not there. And when they win a few games in a row, it's like, oh, they're turning the season around. Not quite. Even in those wins, there were moments of vulnerability for Liverpool that we saw again today. To Jurgen Klopp's comments about the set pieces for Brentford, if you know full well that this is what they do, it's no secret to anybody. We all know coming into this match that Brentford is going to lean heavily on set pieces. So set pieces, yes, you depend on a good service, but a lot of it is desire to get to the ball and attack the ball first. And if you know this is what Brentford does, then you should address it to the point to where it shouldn't be free headers. And they were indeed, at times, free headers for Brentford in multiple set pieces. And let's not forget that a couple goals got disallowed from set pieces because of offsides here, offsides there. But in order to get to those points in which the goals were disallowed, Brentford were winning the first ball, and the second ball, and the third ball, and Liverpool unable to clear their lines. The other thing that I would say, if you want to picture what Liverpool was all about in this game, once the second goal is disallowed from Wisa in the first half, the ball is now, they've gone to VAR, the ball is now at the feet of Liverpool. Yes, now they're playing out of the back with all the pressure that Brentford were in the front foot. The stadium was on top of Liverpool. Okay, here we go. What are we going to do? All right, we're going to play it short. And here we go, Harvey Elliott. Let me give you this ball. And it's unawareness. It's lack of understanding what the game calls for. And I'm pointing out Harvey Elliott, but I could point out many other players in Liverpool. He decides that the best course of action is, I'm going to let the ball go through my legs. They lose possession of the ball, one pass forward, second pass is across, and even having that all of that happen, the center backs from Liverpool nowhere to be found. Wisa wide open, good header and goal. They were second best to everything today. That lack of intensity, that lack of urgency is what's concerning, because it's the one thing that you knew you needed to bring against Brentford in order to be successful, and they never brought it.
And that's the thing, and that would be really concerning for me, Ian, if I was a Liverpool fan, is that this isn't a one-off for the season. This isn't an anomaly. This isn't just a bad day at the office. We've seen it far too much, haven't we?
Yeah, I think some of their games have resembled basketball matches, to be honest with you. They look flaky. That was the word that came to my mind watching the first half of that game. Brentford could have scored more than they did. I just wonder whether Jurgen Klopp might have to reconsider the way they go about their whole style, with the two fullbacks pushed up very high, and then you're basically defending with the two centre-backs. As you've been saying, Van Dijk's not been quite himself this season. They say he was taken off as a precaution today. I wonder whether that was just a cover story, whether he really was hooked, which would be unprecedented, of course, for Liverpool, but maybe just underlines where they are at the moment. Like Jan was saying, against Leicester, they got away with it in that game with 2 own goals. They weren't good by their own admission. I don't see them recovering, really, this season. I think they'll do very, very well to make the top 4. I think they're going to have to concentrate on the Champions League, and they've got the holders in the way there as well, Real Madrid.
This is really bad, isn't it, Stevie?
Yes, but I can't honestly say I'm shocked. I've been saying for a long time that Liverpool can't defend against anybody. I mean, they can't stop anybody getting at them. You know, I'm actually sitting here thinking about what I said earlier, and I'm thinking, you know what? If I'm Klopp, I'm thinking about having so much of the ball, not creating chances. Well, yeah, that is correct. But I guess, overall, his biggest worry is they can't defend in the middle of the park. Full stop. They can't do it. They don't have the personnel to do it. Ever since they signed Thiago Alcantara, I've been trying to tell you that he can't defend against the ball. Yes, he's fantastic with the ball at his feet, and he'll pick a pass and land it on a dime, but he can't stop anybody running past him, and he can't stop anybody getting at him. Harvey Elliott's learning his trade. I've said it 100 times again, and he can't stop anybody getting through. So you've got Fabinho in the middle of the park, pretty much on his own, who can't get close enough because he's too busy trying to figure out where to be because there are so many holes around him. So you can't win games in the Premier League if you're in the middle of your field, can't stop anybody. And I mean anybody. I'm talking the team in last place to the team at the top of the league. If you can't stop them getting to your back 4, then you're in trouble. And then if you look at the back 4, you talk about this. Football's all about decision-making. And when Liverpool at their best, defensively, the decision-making was fantastic. And number one decision-making as a defender, and particularly as a centre-back, is your starting position. Your starting position and your understanding of what's going on around you. And that second goal stunk of absolutely horrible starting positions. You've got Van Dijk, who's far too close to the ball. He's got 2 players between him and the ball, but he's still away past the near post. You've got Fabinho, who's gone all the way back in and standing on the 6-yard line. You've got Konate, who's actually picking Fabinho up, when you've got Wisa standing behind Konate, who gets a free header. I mean, it's just horrible. So Klopp's problems are absolutely 100% the middle of the park, cannot defend when they lose the ball, and right now you've got a back 4, including the supposed best centre-back on the planet, who's not at his best and is not inspiring anybody around him. Good luck winning games when you can't defend from the back and you can't defend in the middle of the park. All the best.
Stevie, as you say, you've been saying for a while now, Liverpool will give you chances. So how much of a concern is it that Klopp doesn't seem to have done anything to address this situation?
Well, you can only change the personnel, and if you don't think you have personnel that's better than what you've got, then you can't. All you can do is go on the training field. But again, you can go on the training field all day, every day, 24 hours a day. But on the field of play, players make decisions, and that back line at one time was easily and was the best back four on the planet. With the four players I'm talking that were on the field at one time, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold as your fullbacks. You had Matip, who was fantastic, and Van Dijk. That back line was absolutely brilliant, along with Alisson, who was at his best. It was impregnable. As I said, it's about decision making, and each and every one of them at different times is making poor decisions. And so you see that's what you get. You get mistakes, you give up chances, and the ball ends up in the back of your net.
Ian?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Stevie makes a great point about opposition teams are flooding through that midfield. They don't have enough steel in there at the moment. Fabinho's had a very indifferent season. He's the one guy who might have broken up the play. I don't know why they don't or didn't consider, maybe they will consider, making a beeline for somebody like Amrabat, who was outstanding at the World Cup. I don't know whether Fiorentina, whether he's available, what the situation is. Chelsea have made a move, haven't they, in that department because of the continuing injuries and contract question mark over Conte. They've gone and got Luis Fernandez, the Argentinian, who starred at the World Cup. I do think they need to buy a dynamic kind of holding midfield player to plug that gap.
I think what you can, Dan, if you may say, if you compare them with Manchester United, and I had an interesting discussion with Craig Burley the other night about Manchester United, but you see the big difference between them and Liverpool now. First of all, they don't concede goals, but it's still, and Stevie's talking about it as well, the balance, there's lack of balance in the team. So the back four more or less the same. With your Konate today and the third goal, I must disagree big time with Klopp. He looked like a under 17 player Konate in that situation. And the balance, when you have a Manchester United, or we have a Varane, or you have Casemiro, that balance is so good. And in Liverpool, you don't see that at the moment. And then they seem to be insecure straight away when it's not there. So the defined role, if we're going to criticize Klopp for something, is it looks like, yes, Steve is right, that it's all about decision making, but it looks like the defined role now between the central defenders and the central midfield is not there. And yes, Thiago is that great magician that can do anything with a ball. But when you can't defend, that will make the defenders more insecure. And that you see at Liverpool now, even with these great players, they look insecure.
Jan brought up the third goal, Stevie. You mentioned it briefly. What was your take on it?
Yeah, Konate's got to do better. I mean, come on. There's one thing to try and be clever and get yourself in front of the attacker so that he does bang into the back of you and then you go down. You know, it's the oldest trick in the book. However, if you're going to do that, you've got to do it properly. And he didn't do anything. He either clear it out or else you do it properly. He ended up doing neither. He almost instigated the collision with him and Boomer, but Boomer didn't particularly hit him very hard. In fact, Boomer had no option because of the position that Konate put himself in front of Boomer, that there was contact. But was there enough contact for a foul? Even me, sitting here with my Liverpool glasses on, I'm shaking my head when the ball goes in the net, and I wasn't crying for a foul, I can assure you. Konate's got to do way better than that.